The Unwanted Bride Part 1. The reckless BET that changed everything. Kang Ji-Hoon was untouchable. As the heir to K Group, South Korea's largest conglomerate, he lived by one rule: never lose. Life was a game to him, and tonight, an exclusive lounge, his friend decided to test him. Ji-Hoon, let's make a bet. Kiss the next girl who walks in. Ji-Hoon smirked lazily. That's too easy. His friend laughed. Then you won't mind if we choose her. Just then, a girl in a food delivery uniform stepped in. Her name was So-Eun. She was once wealthy, but after K Group crushed her father's business, she was left struggling to survive. Now, she worked tirelessly, caring for her sick mother and younger brother. Ji-Hoon had no idea who she was. In the next moment, he grabbed her wrist, pulling her into a reckless kiss. Her entire body stiffened, and then slap. The sound echoed through the room. "You disgusting jerk," she hissed. Ji-Hoon smirked, unfazed. That's a new reaction. Before she could storm off, a cold, powerful voice cut through the air. "Ji-Hoon." Everyone froze. Kang Ji-Hoon, Ji-Hoon's father, stood at the entrance. His sharp gaze locked onto his son. And then, he said words that shocked everyone. "This is not fair. Kissing a random girl? Now you have to apologize by marrying her." Part 2. The marriage in 2001 Ji-Hoon's jaw clenched. "You can't be serious." His father smirked. "You have two choices. Marry her or lose K Group." So-Eun felt sick. She wanted nothing to do with Ji-Hoon. But with her mother's hospital bills piling up, she had no choice. And so, the papers were signed. So-Eun became the wife of the man she hated most. Part 3. War inside the mansion. The Kang family mansion was colder than a prison. Ji-Hoon and So-Eun lived under the same roof, but they were enemies. She refused to speak to him. He ignored her existence. Until one night, Ji-Hoon caught her eating instant noodles in the kitchen at 2 a.m. He raised an eyebrow. A billionaire's wife eating cheap ramen? So-Eun glared. "I'd rather starve than eat your family's food." Ji-Hoon smirked. "Suit yourself." The next morning, she woke up to find a dozen different types of ramen stacked in the kitchen. Her heart skipped, but she shook her head. "No way, he's just mocking me." And so, their battle continued. Part 4. His dead mother. Her broken heart. Ji-Hoon's mother died when he was 18. She had been his only warmth in the cold world. After her death, he stopped believing in love. So when he saw So-Eun caring for her sick mother, something inside him twisted. One night, he caught her crying in the hospital hallway. For the first time, he didn't insult her. Instead, he asked, "Does it hurt?" She looked up, confused. "Losing someone you love?" He clarified. She didn't answer, but her eyes did. Something shifted between them that night. Part 5. Jealousy and a scandal at a charity gala. So-Eun stunned everyone. Wearing a gorgeous black dress, she looked like a queen. Ji-Hoon couldn't take his eyes off her. But then, another man approached her. So-Eun, a wealthy heir, smiled. "You don't look like a girl who belongs in Ji-Hoon's world." Ji-Hoon lost it. He grabbed her wrist, pulled her into a dark hallway, and pinned her against the wall. His breath was ragged. "Don't let other men touch you," she gasped. "Why do you care?" His lips brushed her ear. "Because I see it now." Her heart stopped. That night, hatred turned into something dangerous. Part 7. The night before the divorce, the atmosphere in the Kang mansion was cold, suffocating. Ji-Hoon sat in his study, staring at his glass of whiskey. So-Eun stood outside his door, her heart pounding. Tomorrow, they would be divorced. But why did it feel like she was about to lose something precious? Finally, she turned away. And then, So-Eun. She froze. Ji-Hoon stood by the window, his back to her. His voice was low, rough. "Are you really leaving?" So-Eun swallowed hard. "It's for the best." He turned around, walking closer, his eyes locked onto hers. "Then say it." His voice dropped lower. "Say you don't love me." Her lips parted, but no words came out. Ji-Hoon smirked bitterly. "That's what I thought." And he walked away, leaving her breathless. Part 8. The final morning. When hearts can't lie, the morning of the divorce arrived. Ji-Hoon sat at the dining table, expressionless, staring at his untouched coffee. So-Eun walked in, dressed simply, but to him, she had never looked more beautiful. His grip on the coffee cup tightened. This was the last time he would see her as his wife. She sat across from him. Neither of them spoke. The silence was too loud. Finally, Ji-Hoon broke it. "Did you sleep well?" So-Eun let out a dry laugh. Like a baby, they both knew it was a lie. Ji-Hoon tapped his fingers against the table. "You're really going through with this?" Her fingers tightened around her mug. Yes, a heavy pause. Ji-Hoon's voice lowered. Is this really what you want? She didn't answer right away, because the truth was she wanted to stay. But she had spent her entire life believing that love didn't exist for people like her. And Ji-Hoon, he was never meant to be hers. So she swallowed the pain and forced a smile. It's for the best. Ji-Hoon's jaw clenched, but he said nothing more. Both of them knew this was the biggest lie of all. Part 9. The divorce room. When pretending is no longer enough, the lawyer placed the divorce papers on the table. Once you both sign, the marriage is officially over. Ji-Hoon and So-Eun sat across from each other, expressionless. But inside, their hearts were screaming. So-Eun picked up the pen. Her fingers trembled. Ji-Hoon clenched his fists. She took a deep breath and pressed the pen against the paper. Wait. The word exploded out of Ji-Hoon before he could stop it. So-Eun's eyes widened. Ji-Hoon suddenly stood up, knocking his chair back. His breathing was ragged. I can't do this. So-Eun's heart pounded. What? His voice shook with desperation. I don't want to divorce you. Her lips parted. You what? Ji-Hoon took a step forward, his entire body tense. This whole time, I pretended I hated you. I forced myself to act like I didn't care. His jaw clenched. But every time you walked away, every time you ignored me, I wanted to pull you back. His eyes burned into hers. I wanted you to see how much I love you. So-Eun felt her vision blur with tears. Her voice came out as a whisper. Then why didn't you tell me? Ji-Hoon's voice broke. Because I was a coward. He grabbed her hands, his grip tight. But I won't let you go now. A tear slipped down So-Eun's cheek. Her voice trembled. I don't want to go either. Ji-Hoon's breath hitched. And then he pulled her into his arms, crushing his lips against hers. This time it wasn't a game. This time it wasn't a mistake. It was forever.